everyone. Welcome to Garden Fork Radio. You're here with Erik and Erik. Welcome, sir.
Erik Squared. Good to talk to you again.
This is Erik from Root Simple. He's the West Coast doppelganger to East Coast Erik. I think we met because I saw on Pinterest your rocket stove, I think.
Oh, is that? Oh, yeah, that's right. You found that, and then we met. Yes.
And then I copied it and made a video about it.
Yes. Oh, yes. Right.
Everyone, this is your first time here. Garden Fork is an eclectic DIY podcast. Really, whatever pop into our heads that we find interesting, we talk about. And Erik, West Coast Erik, has a podcast and website called Root Simple, and very similar, with just a kind of a West Coast twang? What do we call it? Spin.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Spin to it. So,
right.
And then every once in a while, we kind of reconnect on Skype here and catch up with things. And Erik, what you've been doing is somebody sent you a solar cooker?
Yes, a company called One Earth Design sent us a parabolic solar cooker called the Soul Source to try out. And I'd actually tried to make a parabolic solar cooker out of a satellite dish once, and it's very hard to, a parabolic solar cooker, to explain it, is like a dish, right? So it focuses the light of the sun on a very, very small point.
Right.
So it kind of works like a grill, whereas most solar cookers that you can make or a box cooker, they're more like a slow cooker.
Right,
and this
right.
thing's more like a grill. And I tried to make one, but it's very hard unless you're a welder to make the grill part that would hold a pot. Mm-hmm. And so this company has manufactured one, basically, and it's very solidly built and easy to assemble. And so we've been trying it out, and it's now it's November, so the sun is lower in the horizon right now. But we can still, for some reason, we decided we needed to deep fry with it, just to run it through its paces. So we've been deep frying.
And you made beignets.
We made beignets, yeah. Or Kelly made beignets, I should say. Yeah, and very easy. It was just overnight mix some flour and yeast and milk, and put it in the refrigerator, and the next day shape it into squares and throw it in the solar deep fryer. Couldn't be easier.
Did it take a long time to heat up the oil, or?
It did take a while. It took about, I'd say a half hour or so, but I didn't have the cooker aimed quite right. I think it would have gone a little faster, and definitely would be faster in the summertime too.
I made a solar cooker box to make yogurt, but it was a much simpler thing because you just need something to keep the yogurt warm,
Right. And that worked well.
Yeah. It was kind of anything I can do in the yard and cooking,
Yeah, that's actually a great idea for using a box cooker.
Because in New England, the sun, even in the middle of the summer, it gets kind of warm, but the sun, I just don't know if it's powerful enough to do something like that. Have you heard of any experiences of people doing it up in New England, or?
I haven't. I'm pretty sure it would be, though, because the dish is pretty big, and it very tightly focuses a light. So much, it's hot enough to light a piece of paper on fire.
Oh wow!
So I suspect it would work up there. I don't know about the middle of winter, but definitely summertime it would work.
And then you had like a cast iron pan in the center, the little, I don't know what you would call it, the receiver or the little plate or whatever.
Yeah, it's just a grill plate basically, and it's it was a cephalon pan. Is that how you say that? Mm-hmm. And they sell a pot that kind of goes with it, and we were using that. But you could use cast iron. It would take longer to heat up.
Would be really fun. I know you mentioned before the show that you wanted to take this thing out into the streets, and that'd be kind of a fun video to make as well. Just kind of making people some sort of fancy food in the street with a solar cooker would be kind of a fun, ironic solar food.
Yes, that's exactly what we were thinking. Is we for some reason we had this idea we should do cronuts on the street,
Ah,
on Sunset Boulevard, and see what happens.
I wonder if you could make pizza in this thing.
Yes. Well, that's a good question.
It'd be like fry pan pizza, but yeah.
Yeah, there is. Speaking of that, there's this technique of fry pan pizza, but then you put it on the broiler. Have you ever done that?
Yes.
Yeah, that works really well, actually.
I think there's a video about that. I can't remember.
Did you do a video about that?
I think we did. We've done a.
Okay.
I did one about cooking them in a fry pan, and I'm pretty sure we throw it. Now I want pizza for lunch.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a pizza place on my corner, so it's dangerous here.
Uh-huh.
New
Brooklyn
York.
pizza, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's pizza by the slice is a roll of the dice, but
Yes.
this place is pretty good here, so
Yeah.
don't
Now you got
ever
me
eat
thinking.
don't ever eat pizza with a knife and fork in New York, though, okay? A big warning.
Uh-huh.
Is there, so it's called SOLSOURCE, Soul Source, and they sent it
Yes.
to you. But is
Yes.
it a pain to haul? Could you put it in the back of your car, or is it something that should stay in your backyard, or?
It comes apart, so you could haul. I mean, it totally comes apart. That would be a lot of work to totally take it apart and put it back together. But the dish separates from the kind of metal holder part, and that's fairly easy to disassemble. So if you have a hatchback, it'll fit in there, no problem.
You could build a trailer for your bike and bike down to Sunset
Right.
Boulevard and then make the beignets for people.
Well, that's a business model, right? And have some kind of ridiculous white outfit with dark sunglasses and,
A welding helmet,
right, something like that. The first solar food kind of truck, basically, what you're proposing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate green technology.
Yep. Someone should run with that one.
Not us.
Not me. Or open a whole restaurant that's only open on sunny days. So.
Well, actually, I was just meeting, I met a friend of mine who travels to Bosnia, of all places, on a regular basis. And someone asked her if she could live in Bosnia full time. And she said no, because I like to eat different foods like sushi. And the only sushi restaurant in Bosnia is only open every once in a while when they have fresh fish. And the idea of sushi in Bosnia is a little weird anyway, but it does, it's a smart business model. When we have fresh fish, we will open,
Right. You're only open periodically.
I like that. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is on Twitter, you've been posting some pictures, and on Facebook, of a shed you've built, and it looks like of recycled materials. Is that right?
Yeah, Kelly, it was on the honey-do list, as they say, that Kelly wanted a garden shed in which to put, tools and things like that, because otherwise they're just laying around the yard and getting rusty. So we needed to build a shed, and I kind of dragged my heels on this one. But finally, I decided, okay, I'll do it, and I set as a goal to just use recycled materials if I could. Didn't fully. Not 100% recycled materials, but it's mostly recycled materials.
And did you have a design in mind and go find the materials to fit that, or did you kind of see what was out there first?
Kind of a little of both, but lately these days, I'm trying to start with the design and then get the materials, because otherwise you end up with a stack of crap in your yard that just sits around for a long time. So this time I decided to basically to design it all well, first I sketched it up on paper and with paper and pen, and then I put it into not Google SketchUp, but Sketchup it's called now, which is a free 3D modeling program that I've blogged many times about. I'm a huge fan of it. It's a great way to design a project. It takes just a couple of evenings to learn, and there's how-to videos to learn how to use it. And then, once you get the handle on it, it's great. You can design something. You can, because it's a 3D modeling program, you can rotate it around and look at the thing, and you can even, you can, if you really want to get advanced, you can plop it into photos of your yard to see how it looks in context. It's great. I don't do any, do it yourself thing anymore without using SketchUp, like building raised beds or whatever, just so that I can look at it and see, okay, is this going to work? Does it look good? The dimensions right, that kind of thing.
I would really like to learn that. I know a little bit about 3D modeling because I used to work in the post-production film world. But there was always these guys that would build the wireframes and everything, and it just seemed to easily overwhelm me. But now, because I keep on building this boat in my head, and I'd like, I should really write this down on some paper, But to be able to put it in 3D would be fun. So.
Yeah, and then, in SketchUp, there's other people who created models of things, so you don't have to do everything from scratch. So in case of my shed, I had found some columns. I didn't have to model those, though. There were columns in SketchUp that I could download into the model. And there's doors and windows, and, a lot of companies actually now have their products in SketchUp, their cabinets, their windows, and all of that. So if you're, redoing a kitchen or something, you can download those into a model of your room and see what it looks like. It's really, really great.
Now, my goal is to design a plywood boat that you could download from because you're going to buy it from Garden Fork, of course, put onto a thumb drive and go to a CNC shop that has a CNC cutter that'll cut plywood. And, walk in with 2 sheets of plywood and a thumb drive and say, okay, cut out the pieces to my boat. Now, could SketchUp help with that?
Well, we did a podcast on this because a friend of mine is a professional architectural renderer. And
I have a friend who does that too.
Yeah, so he's the person to ask because there actually are some fine points about curves and things like that SketchUp doesn't do, that when you take it to a CNC place, you have to tweak, and that's the end of it that I don't understand because I've never done that. I just use it as a design tool.
Right.
And I think there's some plugins or things that deal with those technical issues. But that's another great use of it, but there are some other steps that you need to figure out. And sometimes a CNC shop can, walk you through that end of it. Although of course they'll charge you, so that's the other thing to think about.
I just like using all this technology to build something incredibly simple.
But yeah, it's great. I mean, a boat's a perfect thing because then, you design it, and then if I want to build it, I can download it, and like you say, just go to the CNC shop, and Bob's your uncle.
It's interesting because I've been looking at boat plans online, and it's usually a PDF, and to draw curves on the plywood, you measure at different points and set a little nail head or a dot or something, and then you use like a piece of flexible PVC pipe or something to draw the curve through those points. And it's really analog and beautiful. But I thought, wow, I wonder if you could just have a CNC machine cut this. And that would be it would be infinitely reproducible that way. And you need the seams of the boat to join nicely.
Right.
And when you're cutting with like a saber saw, that cut is not always the smoothest curve,
Right. I mean, I've done a low-end version of that where I'll take a design and use a video projector, and project something from SketchUp onto a sheet of plywood and then cut that. But it's not as precise as CNC.
Wow. So where did you go? How did you source all the different pieces for the shed?
Well, like I said, I really wanted to do this with recycled materials, and I just realized we got 2 great resources nearby, and these places are other places in the country too, but one is called the Reuse People of America, and the other is the Habitat for Humanity Restore. And these are places that accept used building materials and then resell them. And the Reuse People has a lot of just cabinets and 2x4s and raw plywood and stuff like that. Habitat for Humanity has more doors and windows and even like thrift store type books and things like that. But between those 2 sources, I was able to get most everything for the shed. The funniest part of it was I had found these columns in the neighborhood. I was watching a house being remodeled. We're in a hilly part of LA, and I could see on the other hillside this house being redone. And I happened to be looking out the window at the very moment when I saw the workers tearing the columns off the house. And I just ran over there and I was like, hey, can I have those? And they were more than happy to keep those out of the dumpster. And so I ended up with this ridiculous shed with columns on the front that we now call Shedcropolis because it looks like the Acropolis. Right, the world's most pretentious garden shed. And then the doors I found on the street. And so that came from the street. And then the 2x4s for the framing came from the Restore. And, the Reuse People of America folks. And the siding I had to buy, although that was a little frustrating because a week later I go back to the Habitat for Humanity store and then see a pile of the very same siding that I had bought at the Big Orange store the week before. So and I had to buy a few 2x6s, and that was about it. Pretty much everything else was recycled.
Do you think you spent less than $100 then?
No, I spent more than $100 on it because I had to do the base of it too. I had to get some treated lumber for that, so it was a couple $100 to do the whole thing, but much cheaper than buying a pre-made shed from the Big Orange store. And I do not like the look of those pre-made sheds. I just got to say, I don't know. I don't like the way they look.
I look at those sheds and think it'd be a great office in the woods, you know?
Totally. Or a house, Airbnb.
I just upgraded the electric in my garage, and my garage is about 50, 60 feet from my house. And a buddy of mine is like, are you going to run an internet wire in the trench, because you have to follow the code. You have to trench wire underground and this kind of thing. And I was like, no, it'll reach. And the Wi-Fi doesn't reach to my garage. And I'm thinking, why didn't I bring internet out here so I got to have a little office in my garage, So,
well, yeah, man cave, you need the flat screen TV and the sofa in there too.
Wood stove, flat screen, and a sofa, yeah.
Right. You got it. Leather sofa.
Yeah, it's so the mice can move in, I have a friend who has a barn and they're having a rodent problem and there's a couch in there and I'm like, you got to get rid of that couch. Well, why? I'm like, because they're living in it. We have a store here called Green Depot, and I believe it's a nonprofit, and contractors that are gutting or renovating houses around here will take what they think are reusable materials over there, or I think sometimes the Green Depot truck might come to the job site. And I think for donating this stuff, they get a bit of a tax write-off.
Yeah, that's the same arrangement with this place here.
But it's interesting because it's mainly brownstones and row houses here. So the stuff that people are getting rid of, some of it's really quite nice, these beautiful giant oak doors and stuff. Unfortunately, I don't really have a use for any of it, but you can get some pretty high-end appliances because a lot of people around here, when they move in, they want to gut the kitchen, even though the kitchen might be brand new. They want it to be their kitchen,
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's a great place for cabinets. I built the whole workbench in my garage with used cabinets from Habitat for Humanity.
And you have chalk paint on your cabinets.
Yes, I think that was Kelly's great idea, was we basically made our own chalk paint because the chalk paint's expensive. Chalk paint is something you paint on and it's like a chalkboard.
Yeah.
But you can make your own with, what is it called? Unsanded grout? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I bought a box of it after you mentioned it, yeah.
Yeah, that, and you just mix that with any color paint, and you got chalkboard paint. Pretty simple. And yeah, we painted all the cabinets in the garage, and then we can mark on the front of them what's in there.
Yeah, so you have chalk written on there and, extension cords or whatever, bike parts.
Yep.
Fencing stuff.
That's right.
Sabers.
Right.
Epes, sorry. Swords,
Right.
Back to the recycling, upcycling. They are working on the building on my corner here, and they are taking apart the parapet wall. And so the dumpster's there, and these guys are hauling clay brick. And so, of course, I was on my way into Manhattan, and I stopped and went back and got my hand truck, and I hauled 6 big milk crates of used brick out of that dumpster. And the guys were super helpful. They're like, "Oh, here," because they barely speak English, and I don't barely speak Spanish. And the foreman was totally happy to like get the brick out of that dumpster, because they have to pay per dumpster load, So I was, there are a couple more pizza ovens in my feature, and it was great to be able to source that very, very, very local.
Yeah, that's great. That and so-called Urbanite broken concrete too. A lot of people work with that. So
now, what do they use that for?
Well, you can build walls out of it. Or retaining walls, and you can build, pathways and things like that. And workers are more than happy to get that out of the dumpster for the same reason, because it's so heavy.
I actually have to enlarge our tree pit in front of our house, and I will be cutting up the concrete and breaking it up. And then that's got me thinking what I could use that for.
Yeah, as long as when you break it up, you got to think about the size of the Urbanite that you want. That's one thing. If you break it up too small, it's not so useful.
Right.
Or too big, and then it's too heavy to move.
What do I need to build? I just got done with this giant plumbing project, which we made a video about, but there's a cast iron pipe that's split open. I talked about it before in the podcast here, but
oh yeah, I saw that.
So I'm putting the wall back together now, and the smartest thing I did was I cut the wall. I cut 8 foot of wall out, and so 2 4x8 sheets of plywood drop right in, and I only have 3 seams to tape. So it's just really nice. So after this podcast, I'm going to go down and lay another layer on there. But what can I do with anyone? If you have any ideas for Urbanite, let me know. It's radio@gardenfork.tv there. So, all right, what else is on our list here? I can't read my writing. Oh, you started a new YouTube channel. It's called Root Simple, which I will link to here. But then you told me about this primitive guy that's on YouTube that is just completely blown up, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think he's Australian. And is it called Primitive Technology? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, just type that into YouTube and it shows up. Millions of views.
Yes, millions of views, because the videos are really simple and well done. I heard him talking or interviewed about it, and he's just like, well, when I watch a YouTube video, I just sort of scan forward through the chatter and get to the meat of it. And he just gets right to what he's doing, which is, there's a couple of videos, I don't know, there's about a dozen or so in there right now, like building a grass hut, building a primitive bow, a spear. And, these things sound simple until you actually do them. It's like making fire from scratch. There's actually a skill to it. It takes some practice. The most impressive video of his is him making clay roofing tiles from scratch. You see him, and again, this is all without any dialogue. You see him go to the riverbank and harvest clay, and then he builds a kiln out of earth. And then he shapes them and fires them and then builds a roof. It's really, really impressive.
And he makes his own charcoal.
Right, in this kiln thing that you can also see him make.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Wow. He has an axe to cut down a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right, that's what I'll be doing tonight.
Yeah,
instead of watching
some kind of
the news.
Private property or something. Yeah, totally. You can binge watch all of them. It's great. I think he's got some private property or some friend's property that he's built these things on there in Australia.
Oh, wow. Now I want to watch that. Okay. That'll do it, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for taking the time here.
Thank you, Eric.
So you can find Erik, if you just type Root Simple into your browser, he'll show up. It's rootsimple.com, and then Root Simple, the podcast, and then Root Simple, the YouTube channel as well. So I want everyone to check out the solar cooker and see if anyone else would like one of these, because I don't know if it'll work up by me, but I'm curious to see if people have done that or not. So it's radio@gardenfork.tv. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Garden Fork's theme music is used under license from uniquetracks.com.